So as we all know, the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight just happened, and I'm going to talk about it, and I didn't expect to be talking about it, but I am going to anyway, because why not? In case you're wondering why I'm back to background gameplay, it's because all the fights are copyrighted at the moment of me recording this, so I can't really show any clips from the fight. Not to mention, you're going to notice a little bit of more audio errors than usual, because I'm not going to be editing the audio the way I used to, because let's just say it's really going to be more of a rant this video since I can't show any footage talking about my points. So I am going to apologize right now in case you hear the odd sound of the odd mouth noise. I'm really sorry about that, but we're just going to get straight into this rant. This fight was unfair from the beginning. First off, let's start off with why this fight was rigged from the start. It's an influencer fight, and influencer fights mean nothing when it comes to actual boxing. It's honestly a mockery to the sport of boxing as itself. I'm sure that we all tuned into this fight with the expectation that Jake Paul was going to get absolutely obliterated by Mike Tyson, but that's just the reality that we don't live in. But also, I want to make it very clear that I saw some of the fights leading up to the actual fight, and I just want to say those fights were fine. I don't have any problem with those fights. Good job to all those fighters to the lead up to the main event. But basically, the start up to this fight was basically we assumed Jake Paul would sign this contract to fight Mike Tyson and would be the equivalent to just him signing his own death note. But that's not the case. If we look at all of Jake Paul's fighting records, he literally has a tack for only fighting old retired fighters. And let's be clear, Mike Tyson is not just an old retired fighter, but age did keep up with him. But there was one rule that basically sealed the fight from the beginning. There are no knockouts in this fight, which is basically what Mike Tyson was going to have to rely on in his old age. Now, we probably looked at the lead up to this as, you know, this is finally what we wanted. The Paul brothers are going to get what they deserve. Finally, someone's going to slap Jake Paul around, but that's actually what the marketing for this was. They purposely picked a fighter that we all knew could probably beat Jake Paul, but it didn't happen because they're always going to change the rules so that Jake Paul wins. Because keep in mind, when he fights someone who's actually able to fight fairly on his playing field, he loses. The entire point of Jake Paul's fights is that he relies on being the laughingstock of the entire world. He's one of the most hated celebrities in the world, and that's what they bank on. Because at the end of the day, Jake Paul doesn't care if people hate him. He knows that he's hated. He likes playing the villain because it makes him more money in the end. So the point of this fight was you tune into this fight, Mike Tyson's already there. He's gonna, punch Jake Paul into oblivion, and we fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And Jake Paul remains undefeated. And honestly, this was a lose-lose situation no matter what happened, because if Jake Paul were to win, which did happen, he's already even more hated than he was before, and if he were to lose, he was going to get clowned on either way. So that seems like a lose-lose for Jake Paul, but honestly, it's a win-win for Jake Paul when you really think about it, because he does not care about being the bad guy of the internet. He's always going to be the bad guy of the internet. So he might as well just care about being the rich guy in the end. Jake Paul is someone who relies on not being liked in order to fuel his career. He is not the greatest fighter, as we've all seen, because, look at his fighting record. He doesn't fight people who can realistically fight back. Mike Tyson's probably one of the first fights where he could actually, be fought back in. And, it was really looking like he was going to lose this fight because all the lead up to it, he was kind of being a bitch, kind of being, trying to duck the fight. But in the end, we always knew he was kind of going to win because influencer boxing is not real boxing. Now, I do believe that there was a payout of $20 million, and a lot of people, including some of my friends, have been saying that he just sold his legacy for about $20 million. And yeah, that's the truth. But at the end of the day, money is money to these people. They don't really care. The entire point of this fight was to choose a fighter who was retired that, they could just change the rules around to make it so Jake Paul wins and basically make it look like, oh, Jake Paul finally going to get what he deserves, finally going to get clapped into the solar system. And lo and behold, that does not happen because they need him to be hated in order for Jake Paul to make any form of money. I did try to watch this broadcast live, but the broadcast was having a lot of issues, and apparently it wasn't just for me, it's for a lot of people, so I just tuned out and watched the clips the next day. Now, obviously, I was disappointed, I was sad, but honestly, thinking back on it, there really was no other outcome that could have happened. I feel like at the end of the day, there's only one lesson we can learn from this, and that's to never tune into a Jake Paul fight. He's always going to win. His team is banking on the fact that people tune in to finally see him get punched around and just hopefully get knocked out. They're banking on that hope, and honestly, if you just let that hope die, his popularity will die, all that. So personally, I'm just never going to tune into another fight, even if it's like Jake Paul versus, Zeus. Like, I'm just going to assume Zeus is going to take like a $20 million paycheck and lose. I also saw a lot of memes stemming from this, like Jake Paul's going to fight like retired Navy veterans, or he's going to fight Joe Biden next. And honestly, I do think that's funny, but also if you're going to make memes like that, you got to understand that's all Jake Paul's going to fight. He's only going to fight old, washed up people who can't fight like they used to. But I've also been seeing a lot of people saying, oh, Mike Tyson's washed up. He didn't train like he used to, or he's not in his prime anymore. And honestly, that doesn't mean shit to me because honestly, if you saw Mike Tyson training videos from recently, He still moves way faster and he seems to be way stronger than Jake Paul. He clearly just threw this fight. And at the end of the day, am I surprised by it? No. Of course, a lot of people are going to throw a fight for money. There was $20 million on the line. You know, they both got paid at the end of the day, and no one got the results they were wanting. So now people are going to tune in for the next Jake Paul fight where they hopefully see him get knocked out, which is just not going to happen. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this fight. I thought it was going to be a lot cooler, a lot better, but honestly, it was pretty pathetic. But don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.